Hello and welcome to the Codec Moments podcast. My name's Andy Brown and I'm here today with the lovely Ali Cornwolf.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, nice. Nice to be back together after we both got shunned last week while Matt spoke to our good friend Stu Cullen about Formula One.
I know, yeah. How rude is that I wasn't there?
I know, right? Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Good podcast though. If you're not listening to it, even if you're not a big fan of Formula One games, it's really interesting to hear about the iterations in the series and the development of it, and also a good bit about the Fanatec wheels, which was nice.
Yes, yeah, they are some amazing bits of kit, but they also come with amazing price tag.
Not cheap. Yeah,
No.
Give you that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So today, what are we here to talk about?
So we were just like having a random discussion as we do, and we're talking about various consoles that define the generation or what define them. So we're talking about the N64 today, the Nintendo 64.
Lovely. So that was what released around about 1996. I want to say.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So what's your experience with the N64 then?
Well, this is I'll put this one out there straight away. This is the most random bit. Is I've sunk a lot of time into one, but never owned one.
Oh my god, that makes two of us.
I think I went down the PlayStation route, but my mate had. Everyone's got a mate that's got everything, and he had that, and we played that a lot. And when he went on holiday and different things, or was just bored of it because he's got an attention span of a gnat, he just lent it me. So I've kind of owned one, if you like, but I've played it so much. It was the console. We always used to, this was in my younger days, so we used to go and have sleepovers around my mate's house and just stay up all night playing Goldeneye and getting yourself in a mess with all the cables and just playing all the random awesome games that came out on that console.
You see, I was an Amiga owner, so I never owned an N64. In fact, the only console I'd had other than that was the Master System.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And a Game Boy.
Yeah.
But the N64, I think, was an absolutely mind-blowing console when it was released. So we're thinking like back in 1996. It's the console that basically kind of set up the current console generations that we have in terms of what they can do and some of the great leaps of faith that were taken on there. Yeah. In terms of the technology that it had, let's talk just a little bit about the console itself and how it was kind of slightly groundbreaking at the time when it came out.
Yeah, massively. So for a start, it was the first console since, and we've had to Google this and find out what it is. The Bally Astrocade from 1977, which I'm sure Stuart Neal will probably have in his loft somewhere. But it's the first console to actually have more than two controller ports without having to use a tap, a multi-tap that a lot of the other consoles went down, the Saturns, the PlayStations and things. I'm sure we've all owned one. And I think with the PlayStation one, couldn't you multi-tap at one point for some games? For track and field, I think.
Do you know, I can't even remember.
Yeah, I remember something like that. Or there was something you could do with a multi-tap to hack games, if you like. Not hack games, but do something in the game.
I don't think when I had a PlayStation, I don't think we ever had any games that had that many people able to play at the same time, or that many people together.
Oh, you've not lived playing track and field
multi-tap a multi-tap.
Yeah. But yeah, it was ridiculous. Obviously, it brought the cartridge system. It stayed with that. It had a memory expansion, which had the grand total of 4 megabytes.
Yeah, so that basically doubled the system memory. Yeah. And in '96 on a console, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think it's the only console. Someone might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. That's had a modular upgrade port in it.
I'm sure someone will correct you.
Yeah, but tweet us if I'm wrong. But it's at least not something that's not common these days.
Yeah, because you could also have the rumble packs on them, which were removable on the controllers as well. And the controller was just insane. That kind of like Triton Spear.
Yeah, it's a very, very bizarre kind of layout, but it worked. It's a lot of things with the N64. It was like, that's mental, but it worked.
I suppose it's kind of like the precursor of the twin sticks. It's just a shame that you kind of had the choice of either or. And I remember that being the awkward thing about playing Goldeneye is you still had to use a key press to aim.
Yes. Yeah. It was the Z button underneath, wasn't it? And then using your thumbs, depending on what. Because I used to have, I used to use what was dubbed the Duke Nukem controls. So when Duke Nukem came onto the N64, I used my left hand on the D-pad and my right hand was on the thumbstick. And on N64, they had some weird names for the setups on that. But yeah, that was interesting playing those kinds of games because you didn't really use any other buttons. And now when you think about it, using a D-pad, a thumbstick, and maybe 2 buttons, that's your lot. Crazy. So it had some other pretty fascinating accessories. It might have been one of the first consoles to have backwards compatibility or that kind of thing. It had a transfer pack between the Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, and the normal Game Boys for Pokemon Stadium. But it also had a special cartridge that you could plug in so you could play Game Boy games on your TV as well. Pretty impressive for its time as well, like a little converter cartridge, if you like.
Oh, there was also a disc drive version that was released in Japan, which was like a massive flop, but it gave it the functionalities to go online and use online services. And I think the only thing that was ever really up and running was some kind of like Mario painting game.
Right,
But I think the idea was that they were looking to do the precursor of online gaming for consoles using that. Which is just amazing.
Yeah, the different things. There's a lot of it didn't make it to the mainstream or to the Western market, but there's so many different accessories that you could buy for this console. There's a voice recognition unit and cameras and all sorts of stuff.
You could plug in a keyboard and mouse to that disc drive unit as well, so you could kind of compete with the PC gaming in that respect at that time.
Yeah,
it's just cool. It was nice, and I think the other thing about it is we want to talk about kind of games that defined the console. And I think for me, I don't know about you, for me there are 3 that stand out.
Ooh.
I reckon.
Got it.
And I think the key to like the successful, the really big, the well remembered N64 games are the ones that there's one that's out on its own, which I'd already briefly mentioned earlier, so we'll come back to that. But the two games for me that really, really define the N64 and what it was kind of about are 2 games that kind of successfully took Nintendo's own 2D franchises and successfully turned them into unstoppable 3D monsters.
Yeah.
So for me, it's Super Mario 64.
Yep.
And Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, Ocarina of Time's got to be in there for anybody.
Which was just a phenomenal game. A game that I bought recently. Well, I say recently, a couple of years back, when I bought a new 3DS. I thought I've got to have Ocarina of Time right on that.
Yeah, fantastic game.
Yeah, and then Super Mario 64, which really was probably the first successful, really 3D console game. I want to say the first one that took a big franchise and made it into a well polished, successful 3D game.
Yeah, they really embraced that 3D aspect on this console, and you were just spinning the world all around, or you kind of the way you ran around different bits, and it was very like running across a ball kind of thing.
It's quite well polished in that they I seem to recall they used the movement of the camera and the movement of the world to reveal elements of the either objectives or elements of things they wanted to highlight were done through the world in camera as well.
Yeah.
To help you get a sense of the world around you and what it was. So it wasn't just one constant 3D perspective.
Yeah, it was a really great use of the technology for its day as well.
And apparently, this is something I read earlier, apparently it had been in development at the same time as Ocarina of Time. And Ocarina of Time took about 2 years longer. So they stole like a load of the puzzles from Ocarina of Time and used them in Super Mario
Wow.
64.
Wow. That's mental.
So that amused me greatly.
So what was your other game that you briefly mentioned?
The other game that I briefly mentioned is Goldeneye.
Oh, yeah.
And to a lesser extent, Perfect Dark, I suppose.
Yeah, Perfect Dark was good, slightly different, but I think anybody that's owned an N64, even if they didn't like it, which shame on them if they didn't like it, but everyone's played Goldeneye, and I don't think there'd be another shooter like it. The problem for me, and this is what I have with older games, is I struggle to go back to them and play them in that state because it sounds daft, and what I'm about to explain will be an alleyism, if you like, but I feel like my brain automatically upgrades what I thought the game looked like.
No, that's the normal human condition. You kind of you smooth over the rough edges in your mind, and you give it polish that probably wasn't there. It's, hence the term rose tinted glasses.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. I'm like you. I have a fond memory for games on previous consoles, but I'm not a retro gamer. I'm not someone who would go back and have the patience to actually play a lot of these games.
It was janky as to be fair. Especially doing slaps with Odd Job, and I mean stuff like that just wouldn't fly in this day and age.
No, but it was
great.
It was a phenomenal. It was developed by Rare, wasn't it? And it was just a phenomenal game when it came out. It kind of first-person shooters were becoming established on the PC. I think Doom had come out about 4 years before.
Yes, possibly.
So we had a lot of Doom. From what I remember, we had a lot of Doom clones, and this is one of the first games that really set a first-person shooter in a kind of realistic backdrop. Gave it that kind of touch of realism, and also did it on a console. There was a lot of interesting development options and choices, and I think one of the things that they did there, people might not do this now as easily, but they designed like the level first as a space, and we're like, this looks good, this is nice, let's do that. And then it was only after they'd kind of actually built the level they'd go, right, so where are we going to start, where are we going to finish, and how are we going to work our way through it? Yeah,
crazy. And I guess there might be something else, but it's the most successful. I would say it's the most successful movie franchise that's had a game associated to it. So obviously we're now getting movies that have been developed off the back of a game, Rampage and stuff like that, and the Pikachu film and stuff. But the games always come first, whereas a lot of games, although me and Matt love Wolverine, a lot of games that come after the film can be a bit rubbish and a bit
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think they were lucky in the license that they had, because it's not a straight retelling of the Goldeneye story. I mean, all the plot elements are there, but actually a lot of them are expanded upon in the game. You play a lot of sections in the game that Bond had no involvement in the actual film, or very little involvement in. I think one of the is it the bathhouse scene where you're fighting your way through the bathhouse, and you just think, well, this is literally come from one brief reference where he has that fight with Onatop, and that's all it is in the movie. It's just one scene, and it's fleshed out to become an entire level.
And I think it's probably the first-person shooter game that encouraged speed running as well, because you had different levels of how quickly you complete the levels to get, I want to say 00 level, but I'm not sure if it might have been.
Was it Agent, Secret Agent, and 00, I think, with a skill difficulties,
and obviously,
weren't they?
if you went through and did every level at 00 Agent, it unlocked something at for either multiplayer or something else that you could play. And I mean, everyone's done multiplayer in Facility and just put proxy mines everywhere and waited for someone to walk in and stuff.
Guilty.
Yeah.
I totally, and that multiplayer element of it being on a console, the ease of, in an era when there were good first-person shooters on PC, but if you wanted to go and play them, it involved having a LAN party at somebody's house, and that plug in and play couch co-op in a first-person shooter like that, it was brilliant. Graham and I played so much of that.
And how ridiculous is this? Not to compare sizes, Andy, because it's not that kind of podcast. But I've got a 50-inch TV. I presume you've got something similar, maybe bigger.
I've just got the old 42.
42.
Yeah, I've got a wife and a child, mate. I have size restrictions placed upon me.
I presume I say presume, but most TVs back then weren't even that big. Back in the day, where there was 4 of us huddled around a thing, trying not to look at each other's quarter of the screen.
Yeah, and you got to think a lot of these will have been in bedrooms as well,
Yeah.
on little portable sets.
And it's just crazy to think that now, I know it's probably because we're all bigger as well. So having 4 grown blokes, or females, if they want to join in, sat around my TV now, it would just be like, it's a bit sweaty in here, boys. But you've got a bigger TV for it. But back then, you're probably looking at 30 inches, maybe, if you were lucky.
Oh, not even that. I would expect they were measured differently on CRTs anyway, weren't they? I think.
Yeah, because of the curvature and stuff. But it just an amazing game.
But it was only like what was it, 320 by 240 screen resolution anyway, wasn't it? I think the expansion pack enabled you to have up to like 640 by 480. You think that's not even really quite DVD quality.
I know, yeah.
So and not all the games were expansion pack enabled anyway, were they?
No, there was only about 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Which I was quite surprised at. So the only ones that actually
5 or 6 that required it, and then a couple of others that benefited from it.
Yeah, so the ones that required it were Donkey Kong 64, Majora's Mask, and Perfect Dark for the single player mode. But then there is a whole raft of other games that it gives you high res and different things, and it made it look better and run better, which is nice.
So essentially, it's the precursor to the PlayStation Pro and the Xbox One X.
Yeah, but they just thought ahead about, let's just put this hole that people put the fingers in and go, what was this for? And then they still go, here you go, put this thing in it.
That is essentially my sexual awakenings.
Crazy stuff. But I think, like you say, the Goldeneye one is the one that, or one of it was the one that kind of really pushed the first-person shooter market forward, and what we spawned loads of stuff. We had Turok and all sorts of games like that kind of spawned off the back of it.
Oh yeah, Turok 2 was good.
Yeah. And I think, if I remember rightly, the only good thing to come out of the Star Wars prequels, I think it was on the N64, was the Pod Racer game, which was good fun, where you had to do up your Pod Racer and race them, and I think you could do split screen on that as well.
I'm afraid to say I can't say I played that one.
It was good fun. If it wasn't on that, I do apologise, but I'm fairly certain that I remember sat playing the Pod Racer game on the N64. But just a couple of games that I wanted to mention that I had loads of fun playing as well. Star Fox 64.
Oh yeah, that was good. You see, I was thinking about a few of these, and I have to say, a lot of them that I was kind of thinking, oh yeah, I remember that one. I was thinking of the SNES versions.
Oh, okay.
So like the original Star Fox and Pilot Wings was the other one I kind of thought of. I was like, oh yeah, Pilot Wings was massive. But I thought, no, was it the SNES version of that was really, really huge? I know Pilot Wings 64 did well, but yeah. I think my benchmark is how much did they use it on Games Master?
Yeah.
For challenges.
Yeah. Because I remember on Star Fox you had to fly through the rings and different things, and you could do the loops and all sorts of stuff, and I had quite a lot of fun with that.
Do a barrel roll.
Yeah. The other one was Diddy Kong Racing, which was another rare classic, and I actually preferred this over Mario Kart. You had the little go-karts, you also had the little planes that you flew, you had hovercrafts, and all these different, I think you had little bikes as well, and it was more fun, I felt, than Mario Kart. You had more fun with these, and I think you could have all the vehicles or different vehicles on the same level, and you took a different path and collected the bananas and different things like that. And my mate that actually owned the N64 loved that game, so we ended up playing that a lot. And that was a staple of my childhood, was playing Diddy Kong Racing, which was good fun. There was one more game I was going to mention, which is completely random, but I enjoyed it, which was WWF No Mercy. So it was one of the first WWE games where you could actually
I remember,
change your attire for the entrance, and it's where they really start to lean into the customization, and everyone just put Edge's trench coat on because it was
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoyed that, and I've sunk a lot of hours into a lot of these games, just playing them with my mates and whatnot. But that one was another one that stood out for me, where they pushed the boundaries of a game. And I think that was that back in the day when the WWF games were a little bit all over, because you had a few like Warzone and stuff on the PlayStation, but this one was an N64 exclusive, and I'm not sure if other people could develop for them and stuff, but it was good fun anyway. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, some of those early WWF games are just awesome, though.
Yeah.
I
got put in detention for one of those games once at school. So there's a long story short, there was a song in one of them that said, "I've got my eye on you." And me and this lad that we sat next to played it a lot. And the teacher just went, "I've got my eye on you too." And we went, "Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo," and just started singing this song back to it. And you. It was one of like the custom built in songs. And yeah, we both got put in detention for it. It's so worth it.
Totally worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'd ask people what their opinion on N64 games was as well.
Yep.
And then Matt's responded. He says he played a lot of Goldeneye, Star Fox, and even a touch of Mario 64. But he says that wasn't a great student social game. Because Matt would have been about 40, I think, the time that the N64 came out. Lots of shouts for Goldeneye, Adam Frankel, Square Freak. Stephen Barnett says Jet Force Gemini. Did you ever play that?
Oh,
good
co-op. I did. No,
good co-op game at uni. I need to.
Gemini. The name rings a bell, but I can't say it's one of those ones that really, really sticks in my mind.
And another shout for Ocarina of Time from David Vingenius. That's a good Twitter handle.
A guy that I race with, Ross, he said Goldeneye, another one for that. V Rally, forgot that was on there.
Oh yeah, good shout.
Another one for Mario Kart 64, Pokemon Snap. So he's leaning into Stuart Neal's territory, and Pokemon Stadium.
I think the consensus seems to be it's Goldeneye, really.
Yeah, it's the winner, hands down.
I think your point about the speed running earlier was a good one. The fact there's still like quite a healthy speed running community for Goldeneye. What are we now?
Yeah,
23 years later.
Would you take a remaster of it or not? Because it's one of the. Well, if someone did actually remake it, I know there's a lot of licensing issues with Rare and blah 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 blah. But would you take it? Would you want it or not?
Well, there was a version of it almost 10 years ago now, wasn't there? I think was it 2010 on the
Switch,
on the PS3.
Was it the PS3?
Yeah, there was a Goldeneye Reloaded.
Oh yes, there was. Yeah.
But it was essentially like a Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
It was all right, but it didn't have I don't know if it had the charm of the original. But like you say, there's a lot of polish that goes on in your mind. Would you be tempted to pick one up and give it a go? What I know you say that you're not, like me, you appreciate the fact that you give things a mental polish, and you probably wouldn't appreciate it as much. But have you ever thought, I really want to do that. I really want to play that game.
Yes and no. My wife used to be friendly with someone else and who had a retro gaming room and stuff not so long back, and I played on the N64 then, so we're already talking maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it was good to revisit it, but then I was like, this is not painful, but I'm just used to the polish these days and how they look, how they control, how they feel. There's a lot. It gives you a greater appreciation for what we actually get in today's day and age. And some of these young whippersnappers that are very quick to have a go at a dev because of the loot drop rate in something, things like that.
Imagine not being able to turn your head and move at the same time.
Yeah, and you kind of think, you kind of just want to go, please. You don't know, you've been born, son. And it kind of makes you appreciate games more. And I don't know whether I would buy one, because I think I'd just pick it up for 50 quid with a handful of games and then be disappointed. It would just sit in a cupboard.
I think I would. I'd like to play it for one drunken night with my friends all together, couch co-op, and then I think, like you say, I think it would just probably sit in a box and not be given the attention it deserves.
Yeah. So all you need to do is invite Stuart Neal, chip in a tenner for his bag that he has to check in, so he can bring it with him, and job's a good one.
Sounds like a really good idea, actually. Right, okay, there we go. Pizza and N64 party at my house.
Yeah, I'll bring the beer.
Even better.
Kev will bring
Right.
port.
If you're up for joining us for our N64 party, then actually we should do this and record that. That would probably be a better episode.
Yeah.
That would.
Hopefully Kev won't break his ankle this time, tripping over all the wires. Like you say, your mind plays evil tricks on you, and then suddenly you're like, yeah, that was amazing. And I think that's why I don't go back, because I like my memories as they are. You know, when the N64 was out, I was young, 14 maybe, something like that. I think you say it was 99?
96.
Came out 96. I was 11. But yeah, and you can't replace those memories, and I don't know whether I would want to.
But yeah, so N64 party at my house. Anyone who wants to come along, you can tweet me at Clinical Andy, or you can tweet Ali.
Yep, at Cornwall.
Or you can just generically tweet Matt, because he actually has the at Codec Moments handle on Twitter.
Yep, he takes all complaints as well.
Do you think he's going to listen to this before other people? Should we get people to tweet him something really random?
Yeah, I can't believe they said that in that episode about you, man.
If you're listening to this, take the opportunity to just send at Codec Moments a quick tweet now and say something along the lines of, "I can't believe you finally caved and bought an Xbox."
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, and we'll see what he says. So brilliant.
He shouldn't leave us alone.
So childish. Right. Okay. Well. Yeah. Thanks very much. We'll organise that N64 pizza party, and until then, have a good week. Next week we'll be back with an episode talking about some of the reviews that we've had on the site. If you want to go and see those, check out codecmoments.com, and we'll be just having a bit of an update about the games we've been playing. So why don't you tweet us and let us know what you've been playing as well.
Lovely.
Right. We'll see you then. Bye.
In a bizzle.